Good morning and welcome to Friday. We've almost made it through our first whole week of at-home learning. Go us. I think we did an awesome job. All right, today we're going to look at multiplying fractions. If you recall, again, way back before March break, I told you that the hardest part of fractions was adding and subtracting, that multiplying and dividing was much easier. If you recall, when we talk about adding fractions, we need to keep that denominator the same, because if we're talking about, for example, pizzas, if I buy 10 8-slice pizzas, I'm going to have 80 slices of pizza that are the same size. And that's really important to remember when we're talking about adding and subtracting fractions. So finding that common denominator is important. Multiplying and dividing fractions actually is much different than that. So when I'm talking about, for example, say I have an 8-slice pizza and I want to multiply that by 1/5. What that essentially does, so if I have 1/8 of a pizza, so that means you're getting one slice out of the 8. And then I'm saying, but of that one slice, I'm being really cheap, you're only going to get 1/5 of that one slice. So what happens is I have my 8-slice pizza, and now I want to break each of those pieces into fifths. So you're going to get a really, really small piece of pizza from me. So you get one slice of this 8-slice pizza, and then I say, oh my goodness, instead of 8 people showing up to my party, more people showed up to my party. So the only way that this one pizza is going to feed us all evenly is if I take that one piece of pizza that I'm giving you and I make it even smaller. And doing some math, I decide that, oh, you're going to get 1/5 of that slice, and then everybody gets one really tiny slice of pizza. I want to find out how much of the whole pizza I got. So you got this one piece, and now I want to break this one piece 5 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more times. So whole pizza, cut in 8, one slice, and I think I have to break each slice into fifths. So I'm going to say 1/8 times 1/5. If I've done that for each of these pieces of pizza, I'm going to have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. I'm going to have 40 super duper small pieces of pizza. And if you can only have one of those pieces of pizza, that means you have one part of that pizza. So you're going to get one little slice of this bigger slice. And how many pieces did we end up dividing that pizza into? Is 40 pieces. So instead of getting an 1/8 of a pizza, you're going to get a 40th of a pizza. So multiplying fractions, it's important to understand what we're doing, because if we don't understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, the math will never make sense to us. But the process is pretty darn simple. So let's try this with something else. Let's say I have a chocolate bar that has 4 equal pieces. And 4 friends are sitting around, and I say, hey, you know what, I have this great chocolate bar. I'm going to give everybody a piece. So there's 4 of us, and we each get one piece of that pizza. Suddenly, a whole bunch of our friends come over, and I realize that I have to make the pieces of this chocolate even smaller. Now, I know most of you are thinking, well, you would just eat your piece really fast and still get a quarter, but I'm going to be fair and make sure everybody gets a piece of the chocolate. So let's say all of our friends came over, and I realized I have to break each of these pieces now into 4 parts. And my drawing isn't equal, but you know I would do my best to make sure they were equal. So instead of getting one nice big quarter of the chocolate, I'm going to get a quarter of a quarter. So how much is that in total? 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 4 is 16. If I break each of these sections up into 4, my chocolate bar that I originally split into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, I've now split into 16 pieces. And you're only going to get 1/16 of that chocolate bar. Now, when we're multiplying fractions, it looks like the examples I've given you, our numerators are always 1. Well, that's not the case. So let's change this. I'm going to keep the diagrams the same, but I'm just going to change what you're allowed to have. So our first pizza starts out as cut into 8 pieces. Well, what if I say you can have 3 of those pieces of pizza? And then more of our friends show up and I realize I have to cut that pizza into smaller pieces, and each piece is going to be cut into 4s. So we're going to now say each piece is going to be cut into 4s. How many pieces of pizza are you going to get? Well, 3/8 times 1/4. 1 times 3 is 3. And 4 times 8 is 32. What if I said you could have 3/4 of that piece? Well, we would have 3/8, and this is just making a different question, a different example. And I say you can have 2/4 of the new pieces. 3 times 2 is 6. 8 times 4 is 32. Multiplying fractions is that simple. Top times top, bottom times bottom. Top times top, bottom times bottom. But please make sure you understand why you're doing this math. If you're not understanding that, actually, here we had the pizza that was cut into 8 pieces, and I'm taking that exact same pizza, exact same size that was cut into 8, and I'm now cutting it into 32 pieces. So when we multiply fractions, we usually are getting a smaller portion than we would have at the beginning. That's multiplying fractions. Top times top, bottom times bottom. What if I have a random question? And you just have some plain old multiplication of fractions questions. We're not talking about pizzas. We're not talking about chocolate bars. You just have a question that says 11 over 19 times 3 over 4. Again, top times top. 11 times 3 is 33. 19 times 4 is 76. Again, we're not going to worry just yet about putting things into lowest terms. We're going to do that at the end. Right now, I'm trying to get you to understand the concept of multiplying fractions means we're taking one thing and then compartmentalizing it, making it smaller. Each of those pieces that are identical in size becomes smaller by an identical amount. The math is pretty simple. Top times top, bottom times bottom. Today's work is a little bit of multiplication, and because I know this isn't going to take you very long, and yes, you can use a calculator because, as I always say, I'm not checking whether you know how to multiply here. I'm checking to see if you understand multiplying fractions. This multiplying work will take you no time at all. So today I added in some problem solving. I want you to take some time and read through those questions and see what I'm asking of you. Some of them are more than one part. And it pulls in information that we've already done. For example, fractions to decimals to percents. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you next week when we look at dividing fractions. Bye, everybody.